Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a story that spans continents, crosses centuries, and honestly, completely redefines what we think we know about global communities. We are unpacking the Iranian immigrant experience. It's this incredibly rich narrative filled with surprising historical depths, really vivid cultural adaptations, and just an absolute masterclass in resilience. Let's look at how an entire diaspora has managed to weave its heritage into the fabric of cities all around the world. So, if I were to ask you right now, when did Iranian migration to the West actually begin? What would you say? You might naturally think of recent history, right? A lot of people assume that the Iranian diaspora is strictly a modern phenomenon, something that kicked off exclusively in the late 1970s. But I kind of want to hook you right away by challenging that misconception. Because the real answer, it goes back way, way further than that. We are actually talking about a 400-year foundation. The deep historical roots of the Iranian connection to the West are literally woven right into the earliest American immigration stories. This isn't just some recent chapter. It is a fundamental thread in the whole story of global movement. Okay, just picture this. The year is 1618. Over 4 centuries ago, an Iranian Armenian tobacco grower known as Martin the Armenian arrived in Jamestown, Virginia. Just let that sink in for a second. Jamestown. Fast forward a bit to the mid-1800s, and you've got Mirza Muhammad Ali, better known as Haj Sayaj, just exploring the vast, open landscapes of the United States. And then, of course, jumping ahead, we see the massive wave sparked in 1979. But wait, let's pause on 1875 for a second. This is absolutely huge. That was the year Haj Sayaj, the world traveler we just mentioned, officially became the very first Iranian to gain U.S. citizenship. He was a total legend, completely proving that Iranians have been exploring and officially joining the West for over a century and a half. Now, for a long time, this migration was largely temporary. Pre-1979, people were mostly coming over for education or business, Students would travel abroad, get a degree, and fully intend to go back home. But post-1979, the motivations completely flip. It was no longer just about a temporary opportunity. It became an urgent, desperate search for long-term stability and safety. The main catalyst for this dramatic shift was the 1979 Islamic Revolution. It was a massive political shakeup that completely altered the trajectory of the nation. For a vast number of people, profound uncertainty and a sudden loss of personal freedoms sparked a huge outward wave of migration. People were forced to make incredibly difficult choices, essentially packing up their lives and leaving everything behind, driven primarily by the need for survival. And this sudden, immense pivot in 1979 fundamentally changed the map. It created what we now recognize as the global Iranian diaspora. The community was no longer centralized. It became this massive, globally dispersed population. People had to put down roots in entirely new, unfamiliar soils, bringing their incredible culture along with them to the far corners of the earth. Which brings us to these vibrant, modern diaspora hubs. We're talking about thriving communities spread across entirely different continents, from the sunny streets of Southern California to the snowy winters of Toronto, the historic avenues of London, and stretching all the way to Sydney and Dubai. And what's so deeply fascinating here is that each of these specific destinations leaves its own distinct mark on the Iranian identity. Perhaps the most famous hub of all is Tehrangeles. I mean, even the name feels mythic. If you walk down Westwood Boulevard in Los Angeles at golden hour, you are immediately transported. You can eat saffron pistachio ice cream that tastes like it came from a memory rather than a recipe. You can wander into warmly lit bookstores packed with Farsi-titled books that never would have sat openly on shelves in Tehran. But the illusion is fragile. You walk a few blocks and you hit a generic pharmacy, a nail salon, a parking structure, and suddenly you realize you are already leaving it. Persian Square is less a physical square and more a state of mind. But the adaptation looks totally different depending on where you land. Over in Toronto, for example, Iranians have incredibly carved out significant space in politics, the arts, and education, truly embedding themselves in the civic fabric. Meanwhile, in London, the Iranian identity takes on another fascinating layer, interacting with and being shaped by British multiculturalism. In every single city, immigrants are actively redefining what it actually means to belong. Because this global journey isn't just about geography, it's about evolving identities. There's this absolutely beautiful metaphor from our sources. Iranians are like Persian cello or rice. Every grain is separate, perfectly formed, it does not clump. You see, identity in Iran was never about ethnic or monolithic political unity.
It was literary and linguistic continuity. It's like carrying the ancient verses of the Shahnameh right into a modern coffee shop in Los Angeles.
But maintaining those distinct grains, that comes with profound complexities. Today's Iranian immigrants face strict immigration policies, xenophobia, and internally, a whole second generation is managing dual identities. Sometimes to be Iranian in LA is to be everywhere and nowhere at once, kind of like a freeway at night with everyone moving in parallel isolation. Yet, this is the exact same community that can organize a chaotic, joyful 300-person memuni or dinner party in 48 hours, even if they can't organize a neighborhood council. It is a brilliant, messy balancing act of isolation and deep connection.
I really love this quote from our sources because it hits the nail right on the head. Iranian immigration isn't one thing. It's complex, layered, and evolving. It's Martin the Armenian in Jamestown. It's at Saffron Ice Cream in Southern California. It is a vast, beautifully complicated human experience that simply refuses to be put into a single, simple box.
So what does this all mean for us? How does understanding this rich 400-year journey completely reshape our view of global migration today? Well, when we look past the headlines and actually see the deep historical roots and vibrant cultural blends, it changes how we view our interconnected world. Migration isn't just moving from point A to point B, it's about the incredible resilience of the human spirit to build a home, preserve a memory, and shape the future, no matter where they land. Keep that question in mind as you look at the diverse communities right in your own neighborhood. Thank you so much for exploring this explainer with me today. Keep learning and stay curious.